Now we move on to the first roundtable of these Galician Innovation Days. The main theme is going to be improving the quality of life and healthy aging challenge. As you know, longevity is one of the greatest achievements of our modern era, and societies need to adapt to a new role elderly people may have. Social cohesion and inclusiveness and the health, well-being, rights and security of its citizens are central aims of the EU policies and programs. However, the EU is facing challenges related to demographic change, globalization, protection of nature, etc., which are putting under strain the well-being of citizens and communities. Research and innovation are crucial for improving our understanding of the risks and developing innovative responses. This goes hand by hand with delivering on policy priorities to promote good work and living conditions, protecting the rule of law and respect for EU core values, and ensuring fundamental societal functions such as healthcare, social protection, law enforcement, education, etc. Investments under Horizon Europe will be instrumental to develop stronger health systems and improve medical technologies and develop the knowledge and innovations that underpin the health and well-being of all citizens. In this sense, as we have seen before with the presentations of the corresponding national contact points, both clusters 1 and 2 will contribute to these challenges. Cluster 1 will contribute to promoting and protecting human health and well-being, preventing communicable and non-communicable diseases, and decreasing the burden of diseases and disabilities on people and communities. It will also continue supporting the transformation of healthcare systems in their efforts toward better health promotion and disease prevention while ensuring fair access for everyone to innovative, sustainable, and high-quality healthcare. Cluster 2 will contribute to tackling social and economic, gender and cultural inequalities via strategies of inclusion, non-discrimination, solidarity, social protection, empowerment, and social investment. Hence, the current roundtable will count on 4 experts' contributions to discuss focusing on a multidisciplinary social analysis and research addressing the inclusion, well-being, and aging societal challenge of our societies. For talking about this, we have 4 experts' voices on the subject. We're going to say hello to all of them. Pablo Aguiar Fernández, Ramón y Cajal researcher from the Molecular Imaging Biomarkers and Pharmacokinetic Modeling Laboratory of the University of Santiago de Compostela. Welcome. You have to activate your sound, please. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ms. Beatriz Piñeiro, Innovation and Sustainability Technician at Galician Health Service. Thank you very much for being with us today. We cannot hear you. I think you have to activate your sound, please.
Thank you.
Okay. Maria Isabel Doval, Vice-Rector of Social Responsibility, Internationalization and Cooperation at University of Vigo. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And Ms. Willeke van Staalduinen, CEO of AFEdemy, Academy of Age-Friendly Environments, a company based in the Netherlands. A pleasure to have you with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation.
In first place, Mr. Aguiar will talk about the scientific and medical advances to diagnose diseases. Please, whenever you want. Thank you very much.
My name is Pablo Aguiar. I'm the main researcher of the research group that they have mentioned before, molecular imaging biomarkers, and I'm going to present in 5-6 minutes what are the main points we're working on. This research group is between the University in Santiago and IRIS, the clinical hospital of Santiago of Compostela. So we have a research group that is mostly focused on the patient in the medical imaging. Our work is focused on early diagnosis of many diseases, mostly neurologic and oncologic, and also to the personalization of treatments, in the sense that the image is a tool to have more personalized, customized treatments. Our research is focused on a basic concept, changing the traditional model of medical imaging, which is an image where the radiologist does a qualitative assessment of what he sees in the image. We're going to have a more quantitative image. We have great databases of images which we want to um, make the most of and have a quantitative analysis. An image is just a great amount of numbers in a three-dimensional matrix. There's many informations we get from a simple photograph. We extract data. We have data that are extracted, some measurements, some numbers, shapes, colors, and many parameters that allow us to integrate this in the modern big data tools. We don't want to use images like a photograph, but we want to extract some numbers from them that makes clinical sense that can be introduced in different predictive models, such as based on techniques such as deep learning. And the final goal is to develop clinical decision support systems, which are tools that can support any type of clinical decision, mainly a diagnosis and also a tool to personalize the treatments. Next, I'm going to explain very briefly some of the examples. We work directly on the development of parameters and models that allow us to diagnose Alzheimer's disease. We analyze biomarkers with the tomography by emission of positrons, which allow us to measure the activity in the brain through different contrasts. What we do in our work is transform these images into quantitative measurements of what is happening in the brain of our patients, and these numbers, which are called imaging biomarkers, are introduced in predictive models, which allow us to estimate with great sensitivity and specificity if the patient is going to develop Alzheimer's disease in the next few years or not. The next example is the use of these biomarkers in oncology. This, what we do is personalize the treatments, not so much the early diagnosis. What we want is to extract these parameters, these imaging biomarkers, and assessing very early if the patient is responding to the treatment. This is very valuable from the cost efficiency point of view. Are we going to be able to this allows us to personalize the therapy much earlier than we do now. In one of the examples we see here is that we are able to do a molecular diagnosis of breast tumors from what we get on an image. From the image, we get the contour of the tumor. We see different levels of difficulty, and we're able to extract the same type of information we would get from a biopsy. It's a virtual biopsy. This is very briefly what I wanted to explain to you, and then open to any questions you may have. Pablo Aguiar, thank you very much for your presentation.
Intervention. In second place, we will listen to Beatriz Piñeiro from the technician at Galician Health Service. All yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to tell you about the new European Bauhaus project and what we're doing in Galicia. First of all, I want to thank the organization for making this event happen. This is a roadmap of the Galician Health Service. More than a decade ago, Sergas started a process of transformation of this health system towards a health system which is sustainable and resilient and gives a response to the needs of the people without damaging the planet. We started in the year 2004 with the beginning of the digitization of medical records with the Llanos program. From 2010, when the Sergas strategy 2014 was developed, the concept was radically changed and the health service was not focused so much on diseases, but on people. The person was in the center of the health service. We have Hospital 2050 and Innova Saúde follow with the strategy 2020 of improving the health of people, but in the year 2019, they decided to develop their own strategy for the health system of Galicia, which had circular economy. So at that time, we also became a part of the healthcare with a heart, and this allowed us to be a part of the COP25 and the climate summit in Madrid. And now we're also a part of the working group for the preparation of the COP26, which is going to take place in Glasgow in a few days. There's different projects, but I'm going to tell you mostly about the landmarks. In the year 2020, we took part of the climate challenge in health care. We got 2 awards, the 2 Climate Challenge Gold Awards in leadership and resilience. At the end of 2020, the European Commission started working on this initiative, which is very exciting, which is a new European Bauhaus. And we decided we had to be there too. And we started to work in a project, a strategic project for Galicia, where we linked different institutions, both public and private, that are working with us in this definition of a strategic project for Galicia, which could be replicated in other territories. We also decided to be in the Race to Zero race project of the United Nations, and we are going to try to have 0 emissions in 2040 and have a reduction of 60% emissions in 2030. In April, the European Commission accepts us as members of European Bauhaus, and we are the only health center that is a part of the European Bauhaus initiative. I would like us to rethink what challenges we are facing. Obviously, the climate change is affecting everything. We have to think of the population movements, of poverty, of the aging of population, of the pollution we're exposed to, of unemployment, and we must think of 3 approaches: inclusion, working for sustainability, and also working for the well-being of everybody, leaving no one behind. The new European Bauhaus is an initiative that is very philosophical, but it has a lot to carry out this change of concept. We need to conceive the new Europe with all the people without leaving anybody behind, to create inclusive spaces, creating a cultural expression out of the Green Deal in order to live and experiment this digital and green transformation. We need to improve the quality of life, making the most of the knowledge, of the experiences and the capacities, demanding new visions from all actors, new ideas and new solutions in order to accelerate this green transition, to contribute to this change we need in order to be able to improve our lives. Redesigning a new Europe. We have 3 pillars: sustainability, inclusion, and beauty and aesthetics. So in order to do that, we need to reach climate neutrality, have allies change, and be enablers of change. We can use art, innovation, eco-design, architecture, humanization, technology, biophilia, knowledge, health, quality of life, sustainability, circular economy. But there is a message, which is that we can do it all if we work together. I'm going to talk about a territory. Our state is Galicia. We are rural and urban. We are culture and tradition, avant-garde and innovation, green and water, land and sea. It's open to the world through the road to Santiago. It's a reference in active and healthy aging. We have one of the highest life expectancy rates, and it's a territory with great dispersion. We want to improve people's health at home, at work, and in the community, and we want to improve the health of our planet. We are committed to social inclusion. This is a snapshot of what we've been working on. When we presented the candidacy to be members of Bauhaus, we told the European Commission that we think it's very interesting to have architects, designers, and all sorts of professionals here, but you are forgetting about the health sector. And we presented the health sector as this possible axis for the transformation of a culture based on sustainability, inclusion, and beauty, because the health professionals are the prescriptors of change. Using the social determinants of health, adding the effects of climate change to it, and knowing that the spaces are, depending on how they are always going to determine the activities. That is why it's very important to look with the eyes of the heart in order to solve the needs of diversity. Every person sees the life from a different point of view, and we all have to be there together, leaving no one behind. Three concepts: capacities, competencies, and sympathy. We have different institutions, public and private, with us in order to develop this strategic project for Galicia, which can be replicated anywhere else in the European Union. We want places that promote life and biodiversity, using the material of the 21st century, wood, using social innovation, inclusive innovation, resilience, and circular economy. The circumstances in which people are born, grow up, live, work, age, including the health system, are going to have a direct impact on people's health. Here you can see a list of the social determinants of health. It's the social slope, stress, early years, social exclusion, work and employment, social support, addiction, food, transport, and now in the situation we are of climate change, we have to add to this the impacts of climate change on all these social determinants. We know that friendship, good social relationships, and strong support networks improve the health of people at home, at work, and in the community. That is why we commit ourselves to working this way. Galicia is, well, the road to Santiago. Europe was built by doing this pilgrimage to the Santiago route. We have 5 health areas in Galicia. That is why we have 5 different paths. Coruña and Ferrol would be one, Lugo, Orense, and Pontevedra would be another, and Santiago of Compostela would be another. We are nature. That's something we have to assume. We must reconnect with nature and stop using it, to be integrated in nature, respecting it and having this sense of belonging, which has been lost. That is why we define 5 paths, working with green spaces for coexistence, redesigning the rural world. There are many rural places where there are nobody living, and we must recover these spaces because there's going to be population movements and many more people are going to come to live to Galicia. We're also committed to promoting resistance, resilience, and sustainability and art. We're also committed to healthiness through nature and also connecting the territory, mobility, accessibility, social cohesion, and minimizing the impact of climate change on the health of people. These are the images that the European Commission is using to explain which are the places we want to go to, in which spaces we should conceive our projects in order to be able to co-create and look for other solutions. We're really happy that one of the projects is based on our health center of Aravacha center, which was built with wood. It was all based on circular economy from the design to the construction of the center. Thank you very much. This is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much, Beatriz Piñeiro.
Now is the turn of Maria Isabel Doval, who will talk about the inclusion and improvement of the quality of life of disadvantaged people. Please, whenever you want, thank you.
Bien. Buen día a todos y a todas. Good morning. Thanks for inviting me to this event. I will review with you some key issues for an adequate inclusion of any vulnerable group, such as the elderly group, issues on which there is a very big consensus in the scientific community of inclusion studies, a list of basic ideas. We need to focus on what they are capable of doing with our support. The consolidation of an inclusive society does not lie in offering different programs for different groups and people, but rather in establishing policies aimed at eradicating exclusion. We could consider these processes as phenomena of weakness, which they are, but we must not forget that they can also represent instruments of opportunity. So focusing on strength rather than weaknesses. When considered from a perspective of rights, vulnerability or aging becomes a generator of employment and social development. It is a matter of transposing weaknesses into strength based on reflection and intervention processes on these weaknesses. We are talking about celebrating diversity, and we are talking about social justice. The important thing about people is what is different, not the same. Vulnerable groups are considered peripheral citizens and not central. They are not being felt as necessary in the construction of inclusive culture. The inclusive society is one in which live with people's differences. We know that it is important to focus our work on the strengths of the person, on how to support them, to empower and improve them, and how you can use them to make valuable contributions. We have to present diversity as a synonym of economic growth, productivity, and employment. There is a growing body of research on the impact that inclusion can have, especially in reducing poverty and inequality. Inclusion improves social cohesion, economic growth, and general well-being in a society. It makes people better equipped to find lasting solutions to complex global problems, increasing their productivity and efficiency. Inclusion makes the world more vibrant. Accessible spaces are better spaces. Inclusive activities are richer activities. Unfortunately, people with vulnerabilities are commonly thought of as homogeneous, monolithic group. We are failing to recognize the diversity of this community. The global exclusion of persons with disabilities, with vulnerabilities, elderly, comes at significant economic, political, and societal costs. Data substantiates this claim. There is a social cost of exclusion, a policy cost, and an economic cost. But we have the opportunity to simultaneously capitalize on the taxpayer and consumer benefits offered by vulnerable people. When we only talk about the economic cost of the inclusion, we are missing opportunities to expand market share and create economic and social value. Inclusive development isn't cheap, but exclusion has a higher price. In fact, an inclusive system is economically effective and efficient because instead of taking resources out of the regular system for people with particular needs, all of the resources stay in the system. In summary, social inclusion must be based on a clear social contract that recognizes both the cost and benefits of policies and interventions towards social inclusion. Another crucial aspect is what you are right now on your screen. Inclusion is not achieved if you do not work in an inclusive way. And COVID crisis gave us some relevant lessons. For example, the multi-actor approach, because ours is a complex ecosystem, and to solve problems, we need a multi-sectoral and multidisciplinary teams. Another aspect is to use a whole of society approach, focusing not only on strengthening communities, but also the quality of their engagement with government and the private sector. To this end, we work wherever possible in institutionalized citizen engagement. The vision is to create vibrant communities that offer opportunities to all people to reach their potential, and a climate that can support livelihoods and the advancement of everyone in the community. Other relevant issues that will be, levers of change are this participatory approach, a kind of fashion, a kind of nice idea that not always is present in a genuine manner. Informing and receiving comments from citizens in real time is nice, but we must push for the genuine participation of vulnerable groups for the very beginning of any program. This idea of vulnerable people like co-creators and co-designers is really necessary. Another main idea is this sense of belonging. We have many vulnerable people who is already disconnected from the system. We have active disconnected, but also passive disconnected, and this must be researched. We need to put more effort to connect those people to the regular system. They do not have the feeling that they belong to the real society, and we need to put more effort on this. I know that inclusion is not easy, it's always work in progress, and risk-taking is forcing us to act outside our comfort zone, but it's necessary to do it. And here we have some other relevant issues. For example, the gender perspective. Empowering women has a multiplier effect and helps promote economic growth, development, and inclusion globally. Knowledge, which is also essential to improve development outcomes and make support more effective. We need to work more in analytical work, data. We need to evaluate each process, and we need to disseminate good practice policies. Another issue is the digital administration. There is a rather good acceptance of the use of electronic resources for the most routine and simple tasks, but there are a series of points that have a negative effect on their use, and this must be addressed in order to favor greater digital inclusion of elderly or vulnerable people. And finally, this idea of rural proofing. I like my colleague Beatriz Piñeiro was talking about Galicia as a rural territory, and that's true. Europe is rural. We must ensure that rural communities are heard and that their well-being is taken into account in the formulation of regulations, policies, and budgets. It also refers to the design of programs and strategies that reflect the needs and aspirations of rural communities, and to recognize the potential of rural areas to provide innovative, inclusive, and sustainable solutions. So let's help to amplify the rural voice. Regarding the contribution of my university, the Universidad de Vigo, to this idea of rural proofing, let me tell you that we have Rio, that was born in 2019. This is a hub for rural innovation. And next academic course, we will offer a new PhD about elderly from a holistic point of view. It's an international program with the participation of the 3 Galician universities and 3 Portuguese universities from the north of Portugal. This is our contribution to this rural proofing idea. Thank you very much, and sorry for the inconveniences and the technical problems. Sorry for
Thank you very much, Ms. Doval. Finally, we're going to listen to Willeke van Staalduinen, CEO of AFEdemy. We'll talk about the inclusion, well-being, and aging societal challenge focused on political and health sciences. Ms. van Staalduinen, yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. You can see my screen, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I will tell more about how we do the building of inclusive societies, rural and urban. A couple of years ago, we found out that we were working on projects that were improve the digital skills and also to have digital application solutions in homes. But then we also found that the built environment is also very important to have this included. Otherwise, you can have a digital solution, but it's not working because, for instance, the room is too small or too big, etc. So that is why we think we should better combine ICT, built environments, and health, so that we can have a better result for the future. And so the SHAFE, the Smart, Healthy, Age-Friendly Environments concept was born. This concept took very good ground, and we have this thematic network approved by the European Commission in 2018. We delivered a joint statement and a framing paper in December of 2018. And after that, in 2019, the thematic framework evolved in a stakeholders network that delivered a position paper in 2020. The joint statement that we delivered in 2018 was that we should draw the attention from and develop a shared vision on the smart, healthy age-friendly environments by member states, by municipalities and by regions, and also by citizens to have it better involved. Also to have research focusing on prediction and prevention, and also empower the citizens. That is what we work on together, is to also have citizens empowered, but we also expect from citizens that they are willing, or as far as they can, that they try to participate, to work on their health literacy, and to also on the digital literacy, and also promote an active citizenship. What we see is that is missing is mainly the cooperation and implementation. Cooperation is that someone is bringing the parties together and to make them talk together on how to realize smart, healthy, age-friendly environments. And also the means to have the smart, healthy, and age-friendly environments implemented. For instance, the locations to build on, or the funding that is necessary, also a general funding from Europe and from the municipalities is very needed. So we address this, the coordination and implementation matter is on this, we address the 7 groups of stakeholders that we see that should be working on it. For instance, the policy makers is that what financial incentives can you approve to foster the implementation of SHAFE? If we have answers on these questions, then we can work on it. One of the spin-offs of the early born of the SHAFE network was that the cost action that was approved last year. This is chaired by Carina Dantas from Portugal and myself from the Netherlands. And this is the International Interdisciplinary Network on Smart, Healthy, Age-Friendly Environments. And it is, brings together researchers and all the groups of the quadruple helix stakeholders group, that is of citizens, public authorities, businesses and caregivers and health organizations, and also the academia and the scientific community. And at the moment, we already have 320 participants from 46 countries all over the world. You can see here what it is. Our aim is to foster the awareness and support the creation and implementation of smart, healthy indoor and outdoor environments so that we can have a better future for all. The recent success is that we were recognized by the United Nations for the smart, for the Sustainable Development Goals as one of the good practices, and this was published recently here on the website of the UN. Another spin-off of the SHAFE concept is also that we have how to empower citizens, is that we work on the development of several curriculums, educational frameworks or educational games in the frame of the Erasmus Plus projects. The first one is hands-on SHAFE, and that is that we learn facilitators such as caregivers or informal caregivers or businessmen or community workers or volunteers, how can you create smart, healthy, and built environments and we develop e-learning modules for them, so that in different languages, so that everyone can understand and practice this by themselves. Building on the hands-on SHAFE is the that is a big project. That is an educational game that we develop, in which the player will meet 5 characters that meet several issues regarding the social or physical environment where they live in. And the characters ask the player to solve these issues for them. At the moment, we are constructing the game, so we are sorry that I can't present it right now. And the third project is the Bridge the Gap. That is where we work on the social and digital inclusion of older people, in which we learn older people to think of the things they find important in their own lives, for instance, in the transport or housing or in social participation, and we educate them how they can use digital devices to improve their digital inclusion for all. So overlooking all these things, and we think to conclude that to empower and to support citizens to healthily age and participate in society and feel included, that policy and politics should focus on the implementation and coordination of several developments regarding age-friendly environments, because we think that bringing parties together and working together on the funding and the goals that you want to achieve is very much needed to build inclusive societies. And that is it from my part.
Thank you very much, Ms. Van Staalduinen. Now it's time for questions. I remember all of you that if you want to listen everything in Spanish or in English, you just have to click on translation. It's quite late. We wanted to end at 2 o'clock, so I'm going to do a question for each of you. I ask you to be synthetic in your answers, please, in your answers or in your comments, so all of you can talk. We will start for Mr. Aguiar. Talking about where you were exposing before, how has your research specifically shown that amyloid protein deposits in the white matter of the brain are related to the clinical progression of Alzheimer's?
Thank you, Aida, for a question. Esto realmente hace referencia
a... This is really related with research work which was done quite recently. Traditionally, Alzheimer's disease was diagnosed through imaging techniques from the deposits of myeloid protein in the gray matter, which is a part of the brain where we have the neurons. We discovered recently that that's true, but if we look at the white matter, which is the other subcortical part of the brain, where there are the threads uniting neurons and connecting different regions among each, the deposits of myeloid protein in that region also help to the prognosis and the diagnostics of the disease, which could be done at a much earlier stage. This is something that was published 1 month ago with a broad database of patients, around 800 patients, which underwent imaging procedures, non-invasive procedures. So this is something that can be used on a daily basis in many centers.
We go now with Ms. Piñeiro. The concept of the new European aims at accelerating the transformation of various economic sectors, such as construction and textiles, to provide access to all citizens to goods that are circular and less carbon intensive. How does the new European Bauhaus intend to improve the health global reach beyond Galicia? I think you have to activate your sound, please. Okay.
Okay. Estamos trabajando en una...
We're working on a proposal. As I said in my introduction, we have the support of several companies and institutions, both private and public companies, and also we are working on a proposal where we will have the support of several countries in order to be one of the 5 pilots that the European Commission wants to have at the Bauhaus initiative level. The idea is to develop projects that could be replicated in other places, and that's what we're working on. As I was saying, for us, Galicia has a size that allows this project to be replicated elsewhere in Europe, given the circumstances of our region. Thank you.
What do you propose as an innovative idea that would be beneficial to promote inclusion and improve the quality of life in your region and in Europe?
Well, anything that could mean some kind of a specialization. and focusing on the strengths and not the weaknesses. One of our strengths in Galicia, I would say, and specifically in Ourense, well, we have all these problems in terms of demography, as we all know, but there's a high level of concentration of elderly people over 100 years old. A great idea would be, for instance, to develop a program to make use of Ourense, of the province of Ourense, as a replication lab, because I think there's an unknown potential here that could be used. Maybe we are looking at other places, even outside Europe, but here we have material for research, which is great. We are talking about people who are quite elderly but quite active, and that's the difference with people with similar ages that live elsewhere in the planet. But this could be a good idea, a lab, an innovation lab and research lab that works on hyperlongevity.
And Ms. Staalduinen, volunteering by older people and intergenerational learning can be better supported to foster knowledge sharing and civic engagement. What role could a digital platform play, and to whom should such initiatives be addressed?
I think that the intergenerational learning is very well covered by the digital platforms, because younger people in most of the times know how to learn older people how to use it. And and also older people can learn all the younger people, the younger generations also how to deal with life matters. So I think to bring these two together is a very good opportunity for the future. That is and also a joy for the future, because that is also, it must also be fun.
Okay, so Mr. Aguiar, Ms. Piñeiro, Ms. Doval, and Ms. Staalduinen, thank you to all you for